Welcome back. If you watched my one and only other video, you may remember this cute little table that I gave a little makeover to and fixed up. But this video is not about how I did that. That's what the other video is about. This video is about fixing it, and specifically fixing this little corner where the pressed wood had been damaged by moisture and it had separated. It was real loose and just didn't look good. Like, you can't paint over that. When I was researching, I couldn't find much on how to fix corners like this. Found a couple videos that said, you can't fix it, just get rid of it. And I was like, I don't want to get rid of it, I'm going to fix it. So I came up with some things to try, and it's held up well. So I'm going to share that with you so you can see what I did to fix that. Hey, I'm Heather, and I like to do things, so stick around and see what Heather did today. So I'm going to try to fix this. You can see right here that I can't squeeze that flat back together. And then right here, the laminate underneath is bent up. So I'm going to try to do is remove some of this loose material in here. See if I can't get that out so then I can re-glue it and hopefully stick it back together. Yeah, and you can see if you look closely, oops, some of that paint from where they painted it, and then just moisture just got in there and just, it all fell apart. So I'm gonna try to remove just the loose stuff that comes out really easy, which is a lot of it. But after I do that, I should be able to pull this back up and clamp it together, put a little glue in there and hold it together, and then reshape this corner. Hopefully. We'll see. That's the idea. And then I'll fill in this missing stuff with probably some wood putty or something like that to really give it shape and hold it back together.
Hi, Mom.
I found that in my videos as I was going back through them, and I had to include them. I mean, that's my son, and I thought that was really cute, so I left it. And here I've gotten everything that would come out. So I'm going to use these two boards just to see if I can clamp it together. You can see here where the crack is and how that laminate piece underneath is bowed down. So I'm going to see if I got enough stuff out to clamp it and bring that whole thing back together and flatten it back out. And you can see my arm, look, arm. And see how it's clamping and it's all coming back together really nicely. Okay, so here you can see, looking flat. I'm pretty happy with the way that looks, which I think I said on camera and thought it was paused and it wasn't. Whatever, I'll edit that out. So I think what I can do is I'll vacuum that out before I do anything else, but a little bit of glue or epoxy or something in there to kind of re-glue all that together, and then look into some, or get out some of the wood epoxy stuff. I think I have some, and kind of rebuild that. Okay, so I'm gonna try to fix this. I found this at Ace the other day, And I mean, I know it's for decayed or rotting wood, but I thought I might give it a try and see how it works. Just kind of hardening that to prevent any more moisture, and then I can add some putty and stuff to kind of rebuild that. Right here, what I'm going to do is use the wood glue instead of the super glue to fill up that crack. I have some glue syringes I found at Hobby Lobby, and off camera, clearly, I'm opened up that crack a little bit from earlier, and I'm just getting as much wood glue in there as I can, so that piece will actually be glued back up. That was my son getting water in the background, like he just got real thirsty right there. But right here I finished gluing. You can see the excess glue coming out of that crack. And now what I'm going to do is use the wood hardener. So now we're going to try this stuff, and I don't know if I'm supposed to shake it. It didn't actually say. It really just says to make sure everything's been cleaned. Oh, it does say shake hand well, and then use a disposable brush to saturate the area. It says to do several coats in quick succession. So I'm going to do that for this part here and try to really get it in there and get all of those, and hopefully really oh, sorry, I got distracted. Really get all those fibers and help make it waterproof, and then it can do some rebuilding from there. Because if I started putting stuff in now, I'm afraid it won't hold its shape. So I'm also going to go ahead and I think clamp this. So some wax paper. Put under the board like this, so that my clamped piece doesn't stick. Right here, I have it all clamped together. I actually clamped it and let the wood glue, goodness, dry a little bit. Probably not completely, but I did give it some time to dry. And yes, instead of wax paper, could 100% have just used packing tape on the boards, and that would have prevented it from sticking. However, the wax paper was right in front of me and the packing tape was not. So this is the route I went. And then I'm going to follow the directions on the can of wood hardener, as odd as that is to follow directions. And I'm going to dampen my brush and just paint it in between all those fibers. Make sure to soak everything so that it starts sticking those wood fibers back together and really hardening that up to give it some support. After it had had some time to dry, I came back to take the clamps off and see how it looked. And as soon as I took the clamps off and those boards came down, the wood hardener was still tacky. I put a lot on there, so I kind of dripped down. But you can see the little piece that was like hanging down that I was trying to pull back up stayed up. It looks flat, looks nice. It's tacky to the touch, which I kept touching to see if it was actually dried or not, like where it was dry and where it wasn't. Best way to test stuff, right? And you can see how flat it looks. It looks really nice. I'm happy with it, so then I just have to, quit touching it and give it time to dry completely. We're back. I've let this dry. It's even dry underneath, so I'm not going to stick to it. And this feels like strong. It looks good. There aren't like those loose pieces. There's a little piece sticking out like that. Sand that later. After doing some research for what to fill this with, and the wood hardener, it said to use their wood filler. I don't have any experience with that one, so because this is a corner, I need something that's going to be really strong. And I looked into a couple different recommendations. I've used this quick wood before, and I've had good success with this. Several people recommended Bondo, which I don't have, and I'm trying to avoid going to buy something new just for this. And I know I would use Bondo later, but you know. So I'm going to give, since I already have this, I'm going to give the Quickwood Epoxy a try first. So it comes in a little tube, and what you do, and I'm just going to go in small amounts, I'm not going to get a lot at once, is just cut off the amount you need. It does have 2 colors. That part feels really crusty, so I'm going to get rid of that. It's 2 colors. You just mix it together by hand until it's a smooth consistency, and then you put it in there. I may end up having to go buy more anyway. So I'm going to fill this a little bit at a time, and then the key with this is to get it packed in there good, but also to give it enough time to dry before you start working with it. And this will dry really hard. I had to repair a little corner on a sofa table I was refinishing for my parents not long ago. It was just a little chunk out of it. But I mean, it works beautifully. It really, sorry, I can't talk and do too. It worked really well. It got in there, it stuck really nicely. I was able to reshape it. Everything worked really nice. And I'm glad I went with a small piece. I really had it in my head that it was going to take more than this. So I'm just going to force this in there. Really push to get in there. And anyway, that corner dried really nicely. I was able to reshape it. And after sanding and the painting, you couldn't even tell where I had, like which corner I had to repair. I know some people have complaints about it doesn't stick. I haven't had that happen to me. Hopefully that doesn't happen on this one. So we shall see. But I'm just going to push this in really nicely. Just keep pushing. You don't want to have too much to sand because it's an epoxy. It is really hard. Once you get it, once it hardens, it's really hard. And I think if this holds, like I'm hoping it does, this will be a very structurally sound corner. All those pieces inside have hopefully been stabilized, so this doesn't just come out later. Okay, so I'm going to call that good, and then I'm going to leave it to set for several hours before I do anything else with it. Okay, so I've gotten this piece. I sanded a little bit right here. It's pretty stable. I've heard people having problems with the wood epoxy coming out, and it doesn't seem like it's coming out. So I was sanding a little bit on the bottom, try to smooth that out. So what I'm gonna have to do is get this all kind of reshaped. Like, it's not bad with like the actual shape of it, just a little bit smoother. Clear out that transition a little, clean up that transition a little bit, and make it just look, oops, I don't even know if that was anything. Make it look a little bit nicer for paint. So, but overall, I'm pretty happy with how it looks. Pretty glad I tried. I'm hoping get some primer and then paint on here, and I'm really hopeful you won't be able to tell that it was busted at all, and really make that table look nice again. Give it a new life. So I'm just going to sand for a little bit and then kind of see where that leaves us. Alright, with my sanding block, which is a two-sided, one side is firm for, flat surfaces, and then the other side is soft and squishy for like rounded surfaces. That's what I'm using. And I have an 80 grit sand pad in there so I can really shape it, and then I'll go up to 120 and on up for painting. And I'm just going to take my time sanding with that until I get a shape I like. So I did both pieces with a gray spray primer to kind of look for any imperfections, see if it was nice and smooth. The biggest thing I noticed was I did not get that corner smooth. So I'm going to do a little bit of sanding and then fixing and then respray it. So after some gentle sanding, you can see this is a much smoother transition. It's not going to be perfect, but it's much smoother. I think it'll look much nicer once it has paint on it. After painting the table pieces, I took close-ups of the four corners to be like, what can you tell which one's repaired? And it was kind of tough to tell once they'd been painted and everything which one had actually had the repair job on it. So I feel like that blends nicely. I think it's this one. I feel like you can see a little bit of the seam if you look closely, but it could also be this one. I don't really remember anymore. I did end up painting the edges gold. This I know for sure is the correct corner, and I think it looks so much better. It's absolutely gorgeous and stable. This is the table, and if you're interested in how I did this, my only other video is available. I'll leave a link down below. And if you wouldn't mind, like, share, subscribe, do all the things to help me grow my channel. And I'd love to hear what you think about this in the comments down below.